Welcome to Pearls for Success. I am Anita Parhar, and I work with staff, children, and parents in schools. This show is dedicated to those of you who are new to Canada. Each episode, we will be talking about different issues related to health, education, finance, and law. And this is my co-host.
My name is Gurdeep Parhar, and I'm a family doctor. We really hope you enjoy these episodes. We hope that the pearls that you learn about in these episodes help to improve your life and the lives of your family members. We'd also like your feedback about the television show. Please go to our webpage at www.pearlsforsuccess.com and send any feedback you have about this episode or perhaps suggestions about future episodes. Before we begin, we'd like to share a word from our sponsors.
Welcome to Simba's Grill. Come and enjoy kuku choma, Simba's chicken, kebabs, and jungle prawns.
So Anita, what's the topic for today?
Today we are going to be learning about nutrition and packing healthy lunches.
Oh, there's a topic that I'm sure is one that many people think about. Early in the morning when there's hustle and bustle and chaos in a household, nutritional lunches isn't a priority all the time.
No, it's not. It's difficult for some people to pack school lunches that for kids that are actually healthy. It's easy to take convenient packaged foods. There's so much of it in the grocery store and it's readily available. And kids find them absolutely delicious.
Delicious, but not necessarily nutrition.
That's right. Let's watch a role play of a family who's heading out for the day.
I'm already late for work.
Have you seen my coffee mug?
I have no idea. Where are the kids? Kids, come downstairs. You're gonna be late for school.
Oh, I'm hungry. What's for breakfast?
We're in a rush. Just grab something from the cupboard, okay? John, what about you? What do you want for breakfast?
I don't want anything for breakfast. I'm not hungry yet.
Okay, hurry up and get your things ready for school then.
Okay. What's for lunch?
What do you want for lunch?
Can I have the snack pack things?
Snack pack things? Do all the kids bring snack pack things?
Yes. My friend Brian always packs them for lunch. His mom is really nice.
Well, we got a couple in the cupboard. Bring your lunch kit and we'll put you some.
John, what about you? What do you want for lunch?
I saw some wafers in the cupboard and some chips. Can I go get them?
Yeah, sure. Grab some. Hurry up, guys. And both of you also grab something to drink from the cupboard too, okay?
Thanks.
We're gonna be late, kids. Let's go. Are you ready?
Almost.
Okay.
Is everyone ready to go?
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's go then.
Wow. Did I say that mornings can be chaotic? I think that's a pretty good example. I'm surprised they get any lunch organized, whether it's healthy lunches or unhealthy lunches. I'm surprised those kids aren't at school hungry with all that chaos going on in the morning.
Right. Mom is busy, Dad's trying to help out, and the kids are doing their own thing.
There must be a better way, and I'm guessing you have some expertise or knowledge about how we're going to find out about this?
Absolutely. Well, we've spoken to an expert at BC Children's Hospital. She works for the Centre of Healthy Weights at a program called Shape Down BC. And she has a lot of advice to give us, not only for packing healthy lunches, but also about nutrition and healthy lifestyle.
Hi, today we're here with Arlene Crystal from the Centre for Healthy Weights, Shape Down BC at BC Children's Hospital, and we're just going to be having an interview with her. So hi, Arlene.
Hi.
Thank you so much for doing this with us.
My pleasure.
So just to start off, can you tell us a little bit more about your role at the Centre for Healthy Weights?
Sure, I'm happy to talk about it. I'm the program coordinator for this fabulous program here. It's a multidisciplinary, family-centered program that helps families help their children achieve or at least reach manage their weight, where there's weight issues involved for these children that are referred to us by family physicians. And we have been working here since 2006. We have some nice outcomes on the families and the children, and it's a very holistic approach. We're not focused on weight or diets, but really healthy living for these families and achieving that. And that's our goal and our focus here.
Great. Thank you, Arlene, for sharing that with us. So why exactly is healthy diet and nutrition so important for our youth and children?
It's a critical piece of children's growth, and we want, in terms of healthy eating, certainly to contribute to optimal growth for children. That's the foundation of it.
sure.
But of course, we add layers to it of the socialization and optimal behavior and all the other pieces that happen in terms of the child's potential in life, is not only in terms of the eating and what they eat, but how they eat. And that's a critical piece that comes with the food. It's all part and parcel of the package
Right.
of not just the foods, but the meal time, and the behaviors that go on at that time.
One thing that we were both discussing is in the morning we find that parents are usually really rushed and lunches are often really difficult to make in the morning. Do you have any advice for the parents that are listening into the show today on how they can approach that?
Sure. There's some very simple ideas in terms of getting it together ahead of time.
Right.
I always talk about having a plan. Let's have a plan where the
Right.
children are involved, even from a very early age. They're often happy and proud to be part of any food preparation process,
Yeah, for
particularly their own lunches, and making sure that you can buy healthy foods, but if the kids aren't eating it, there's no point.
Correct.
So you want to select healthy foods, but also with the child's input, taking them to the store, having them make some selections, sometimes a little bit of compromise, cookie here, a fruit here, and looking at the wide selection of what's out there. It doesn't always have to be just a sandwich, but getting it ahead of time, getting the ideas down, planning ahead of time, perhaps the night before, setting up a little assembly line,
Right.
and having the child start early so they can take over that process and they own it and they eat it when they get to school.
That's great advice.
So, Arlene, previously you mentioned the importance of the social aspect of eating. Could you talk a little bit more about how important family time surrounding meals is?
Sure, it's just such an important piece that seems to be lost with children being busy, diverted towards electronics and screen time. Mums and dads are very busy. We strongly encourage in our program, as well as in a general way, that families come together for meals. It doesn't have to be every single meal, it doesn't have to be every single day, but they work towards establishing some meals that are sacred. We come together, television is turned off, sometimes a bit of a sacrifice, put on the radio, have a little background music, but it's a time together to communicate, to connect. And it's really important as the food on the table, especially with your teens, having them sit with you and hear a little bit about what's going on in their lives. And vice versa, it's a time for parents to communicate too. With the little ones, if we establish it early on that this is mealtime, we come to the tables, the toys are put aside, this is the time together with family to talk. It starts early, it becomes entrenched, and it becomes part of the pattern. This is what we do. We get together. We don't have to be rigid about it. It doesn't have to be a certain time every day, but it certainly has to be an event, a habit, a part of our ritual or schedule. And maybe it doesn't happen during the week, maybe on the weekends, but try and put aside once, twice, as often as we can. We know for a fact, studies tell us that children do better on so many levels, about 20 different points in terms of health, social functioning, cognitive abilities, eating healthier, many, many different aspects as they eat more frequently with their families.
Absolutely, those are very important points to consider. On a bit of a different note, what about when parents are shopping for foods? Do you have any tips or advice when they're looking at labels at different sorts of foods? What should they get versus what they shouldn't?
It can be such a complicated process out there. First, we have to remember that labeling and marketing products is a huge industry. So having it appear really healthful, or using terms like baked not fried or homemade or just like grandma made, doesn't really mean anything until you look at the panels on the labels. And that could be a complicated process to go through. There are some wonderful websites that will help walk you through those pieces. As a rule of thumb, you want to take a look and think about what you're purchasing. If it's cereals, for example, which are a huge industry and a huge part of the supermarket aisles and very costly, why are we buying it? It's originally grain from the grain groups. So we're not looking at it and worrying about cholesterol. If it says no cholesterol added, it shouldn't be there in the first place. We're buying cereals as a grain because of its whole grain content, fiber, and usually cereals have sugar added. So those are the two big things we would look for. So we always look at the food and think about where it's from and how we're using it. The other piece I want to throw in that I think is critically important, we've learned through our program, but I think is an important rule of thumb for all families, is stay away from 0% fat foods. Because it is more costly, it's more processed, and contributes very little nutritional value. So for example, many families report 0% fat yogurts and 0% fat meats or lean meats. We certainly want to buy lean meats, but we want to avoid the 0% fat foods as a rule, because what happens is we have hungry people walking around. We've never had in our marketplace more low-fat, 0% fat foods ever, and we have an obesity issue. I think we have to take a hard look at why, and a certain component of it is the fact that people are hungry. If you're not getting the amount of nutrients you need, you shouldn't be buying 0% fat. So we strongly encourage, perhaps in yogurts and pieces like that, at least 1% to 2% milk fat content, so there's some food value because they are used as snacks or as meals. And they should be contributing nutrition, and you should be getting something for your money. So we feel quite strongly about avoiding those products as much as possible.
You bring up some really valid points that might be some misconceptions that some of our viewers might be having. So thank you so much for that. To get the big picture of healthy lifestyle, nutrition is obviously a very important aspect. In your program and through your work, what are some other aspects of a child's lifestyle that will help them be as healthy as they can and reach their potential?
In our program, we view the family in a holistic way. So certainly food is one component. We look at psychosocial aspects and, of course, the medical piece. In looking at it in a holistic way, it broadens the vision of what health is. It's not just a lack of or absence of any colds or diseases, but what is the whole picture for the child? How are they engaging? How are they becoming part of their own social peer structure? How are they behaving and functioning at school? How well are they doing at school academically? So it's a very important piece of things. And aside from the food, we look at sleep, for example. New studies are showing that an adequate sleep is a critical piece of healthy functioning for adults as well, so that we're not too grumpy. But for children, it's a huge piece of their growth and behavior and development. We find that children who aren't sleeping well, it affects their behavior, it affects their cognitive abilities, and appetites and moods vary all over the place depending on how well they're sleeping. So as long as they're going to bed at the right time, but getting a good night's sleep is very important for children. One of the things we work on is what's called sleep hygiene, which is the same as approach as dental hygiene, flossing your teeth, brushing your teeth. The routine for bed should be entrenched, and we try and do it with little ones, with infants. We tend to lose it as our kids get older, but turning off the screens because of the lights that are telling our brains we should still be awake, calming down, soothing ourselves, and going into a calmer place when we're getting ready for bed, so there is a nice routine and can fall into a nice sleep and stay there for the night. The other piece we look at aside from sleep and food is activity. Our children, as a rule, are not active. They're certainly not active enough. And we know that simply the children in our program come to us because of a certain weight or BMI, body mass index, but we know they're representative of most of the children out there. They're not active enough. They're participating perhaps in one or two sports. We often ask the parents, when they tell us how many sports the kids are involved in, what position does the child play? And then we may learn they're playing goalie. We know there's not a lot of movement involved, or their activity time on the field is only 2 or 3 minutes out of 45. So we have to be very, very vigilant on activity, not only for our children, and they don't have to go to boot camp and they don't have to exercise for hours a day, but a minimum of 60 to 90 minutes, and it can be broken up during the day, different activities, different things. Playtime for little ones, it should be fun. More sports and activities, perhaps team sports. Children who don't like competition, they can go to the pool with friends. The other piece of that is family time. Dropping your kid off or saying, you go for a walk, you go for a swim, isn't enough. Are you a role model? Are you walking the walk? Are you participating as well? Being part of that child's activity or movement time is a very important piece of that picture. So we shouldn't lose that as well, and sending the kids out to do things or dropping them off, being part of it. It also doesn't have to be activity in order to get their aerobics up. It could be just a fun time where perhaps mom and daughter go to a pottery class. They could go out for a walk together, walking the dog together. It could be simple and, of course, not expensive. We don't have to hire personal trainers. That's not what we're looking at. We're looking at family time and healthy movement for children across the board for all of them on a daily basis.
So you mentioned previously the importance of avoiding 0% milk content foods. Does that include skim milk? Just to clarify, or?
No, it doesn't. And I want to be very clear on it that we're talking about 0% fat foods in a general way, but low-fat milk, for example, is fine. Even low-fat yogurts at 1% as opposed to 4% yogurts, or 5% or lower-fat sour creams. But I'm talking about, as a rule, avoiding 0% fat foods. So we're clear on what we're talking about, because generally the 0% fat foods are simply highly processed, and when you look at the label, it's not 0 calories, because what they've pulled out in terms of fat content, they've added back in carbohydrates or sugars. So it's also misleading in a lot of ways in terms of what you're purchasing. So I want people to be aware. You certainly have the choice, but be aware of what you're purchasing and how you're going to use it.
So Arlene, through your work at BC Children's at the Centre for Healthy Weights, could you talk a little bit more about any other problems that you might have seen, maybe on the other side of the scale, with children not eating enough?
Certainly we see, as a matter of fact, that's a huge contributor to weight issues on either side of the coin. The ones we see, of course, are identified because of their sizes, but children who aren't eating enough often binge later on. So for example, particularly young teen girls, we often see skipping meals in order to lose weight, and then binge episode happening because they're starving later on. So that, of course, is contrary to what they want to achieve. In fact, they have trained their metabolism to start storing fat rather than burning it, because they're starving their bodies for so many hours in the day. And we have to work backwards to step one, basically getting them to engage in regular meals and snacks throughout the day to reverse that, so that they can feel and deal with and manage hunger. It's a great point you raise, because it's about managing hunger. Yes, we should have some hunger when we sit down to eat, but we shouldn't be ravenous that we can't manage it. If we're going a whole day without eating, our brain is going to let us know that, and our brain will send messages to our body to say, take care of ourselves, because she's not taking care of us. So they will start storing fat for that purpose of starvation later on. So we want to make sure that eating on a regular basis is a very important part of things. So when you do have, and many of us have come across this, teens, for example, don't want to eat breakfast, they're no time, they get up just enough time to get out of the house and get to school. We strongly encourage 5 to 10 minutes ahead of time, start with a smoothie. Make yourself the night before a blender shake that you can start to drink, so there is some food going into your system, with some fruit perhaps on the road if they're in the car or on a bus or whatever, something quick, but something nutritious and substantial that will start their metabolism working in the morning so they can function at school. Very important also for maintaining blood levels at a regular pace, at a regular level in terms of blood sugar and fat levels, because they all work in sync with each other. And what you're going to have are, instead of spikes of high sugar, high levels, and fat levels, and fatigue that kicks in, you'll have a more even day in terms of responsiveness to whatever you encounter in that day. So that's very important too in terms of regular eating habits. We strongly encourage families not to force food on kids at any age, but to strongly encourage, make some time, and it doesn't have to be a large meal, but something, cheese and crackers, a yogurt, a smoothie, something small to get things going and started for that day, for that so that hunger doesn't overwhelm or overtake us later on.
On the topic of snacking, do you have a recommendation for the amount of times parents should let their kids snack in between meals?
Usually it really depends on the age, and you have to go with responsiveness to child's appetite. So you can judge by what they're eating at the meal time, and remember too that a snack is a small meal. It's just a bridge between meals. It does not have to be, it should not be another meal. So snacks, cut up fruit, maybe a couple of small slices of cheese, or a little bit of yogurt, or maybe it's a small bowl of cereal or crackers, but very smaller portions available, making it available, again, giving the right to eat, or acknowledging, yeah, you can eat, here's what's available now, and having some control or boundaries about what is available. So it should be available between meals, but also contain what it is and how much it is, so that it's not a free-for-all and we're in the chips, in the bag of chips for the day.
So thank you so much for joining us today, Arlene. You've provided us with a lot of information that is going to help our viewers a lot.
Good, I'm glad. We want to share our experience and help other folks out so they don't fall into the same pitfalls as many families do.
Thank you.
Arlene Crystal made a lot of fantastic points, and a lot of points that I think a lot of families could use.
Definitely. A lot of points that I think that many of us have read in the newspaper, commercials on television have been emphasizing how much obesity there is in children, especially these days. And she has given some easy tips that we can start incorporating into our daily routine, into our lives generally, to start changing some of our habits to better habits. So we're going to go now to take a look at a role play, given this information to see how a family has made changes in their meal preparation.
Okay kids, it's time to make your lunch for tomorrow. I put up a list on the fridge of choices for lunch, so you guys take a look and tell me what you want.
Can I have the vegetables, the meat sandwich, and the milk?
And John, what about you?
I'll have the veggie sandwich, but why can't I have wafers? Everyone brings wafers for recess.
We don't buy that stuff anymore. They're not good for you. They have too much sugar and fat.
So what?
Sweetie, you need to eat things that have the proper amount of nutrients and vitamins to help you grow properly, okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So how about you take some fruit instead?
Okay, fine.
And how about to drink?
I'll have some water.
Okay, perfect. So I'm gonna need you guys to help me for making lunch. Zach, I have some vegetables that I've already cut up, so if you could grab those from the cupboard, that would be great. And John, could you grab the sandwich making supplies, please?
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, perfect. So after we finish making your lunch, how about we all go for a walk before bedtime? Does that sound good?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great.
Well, that was impressive. Quite a contrast to how things were done before they had all this valuable information. And what I was most impressed with is that it didn't take a lot more effort. It just took preparation, night before, just having a bit of a plan.
Absolutely. And not only that, having the plan and having the kids involved in the plan and knowing what the next morning was going to be like, having things organized, like you said, the night before, things a lot calmer, less chaos, everybody knowing what their role is, and out the door they go.
There was a lot of information that was shared here. I'm wondering if it's possible to take the information that Arlene gave us and to summarize it into 3 or 4 pearls for our viewers.
Sure. The first pearl is that proper eating habits are important for children's social development. It is critical to help children be involved in the food preparation process as early as possible. The second pearl is that family time is very important. Your family should be having a sit-down meal together at least 3 times a week, more if possible. The third pearl is to choose food using labels when shopping, and involve your kids in reading the food labels. Teach them how to read food labels looking for low sugar content. For example, cereals are a great example where we have many beautiful looking boxes on the shelf, colorful boxes, and often cereals that kids choose are high in sugar but low in fiber. Instead, we want the opposite. Use the food label and look for low sugar content cereals and foods that have a higher fiber content. And the fourth pearl is that sleep and exercise are important, just as nutrition is, to leading a healthy lifestyle. Also for the whole development of a child as well.
Thank you, Anita. All this talk about lunches has made me hungry. If you have any feedback about today's episode or would like to give suggestions for future episodes, we'd love to hear from you. Please go to our webpage at www.pearlsforsuccess.com and send your messages along.
Thank you for watching. We hope that you can join us next time when we share more pearls to help you and your family.